Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining the June 2024 community call. My name is Will. I am from the Radius team. I'm one of the maintainers on the Radius project, and I would like to welcome you all to join the community call today. Thank you for joining. We have a usual agenda today, packed with demos and updates to the roadmap. So without further ado, we'll jump right in. Just welcome to the call and a couple of reminders for everybody on how we operate the call. Remember that this call is for you. You get to come here to see the latest demos and progress, get updates on upcoming features, upcoming releases, and most importantly, ask questions, share feedback, and engage with the community. So please, we encourage you to be active in the chat. You can open up the chat window and just type in your questions. And we'll have the Radius team on the chat as well to answer any questions if I can't get to them in a timely manner. And you can also raise your hand at any point during the call, and we can unmute your microphone so that you may ask your question verbally if that's what you prefer. So please engage. We love hearing from the community during these calls. One minor thing before we jump into the core agenda is that remember we do have a RadApp.io Google group that we use to distribute out email updates and news about Radius. So feel free to join that if you know if that would be helpful for you. So before we get into the updates for the current release, I wanted to just kind of pop open the roadmap slide that we share every community meeting with the latest updates. So if you are new to Radius, you can visit this link, aka.ms/radius-roadmap, to go review the latest roadmap that we have up on GitHub. And in it, you'll be able to find all the different projects that are on our radar that are in various stages of the phases of the project. So remember that proposed is something that has been proposed by the community or by the team, and we're still evaluating. Accepted are items that we've accepted into our backlog and are generally ordered in priority order on this swim lane. And designing are things that we've picked up for investigation or technical design. Developing are items that we are actively working on, and then done, of course, are things that we have shipped. So since the last call, the biggest updates that we have are around Terraform recipes and specifically private registry authentication. So we've finally wrapped up the Terraform private Terraform modules from private Git repositories feature. We've wrapped it up. We've added all the necessary functional tasks. So we've wrapped it up in a bow and shipped it. And now we're moving on to the next piece of private registry authentication, and that's for private bicep registry. So that is currently in development and is going through the technical design phase right now. The other update is that workload identity support for Azure specifically first. We were implementing, it's under implementation right now, and I believe it's close to being done. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to share a little bit more on that in the next community call. And concurrently, we're also working on the technical design right now, and then implementation for the equivalent on the AWS side, specifically IAM roles for service accounts. So that would be the workload identity equivalent on AWS that we are currently designing and will implement and hope to share more in upcoming releases. And then there are other Terraform recipes enhancements that we're working through. The two remaining items are containerization of the Terraform recipes driver. And then the other piece is being able to leverage recipes and being able to point to any Terraform provider. We actually have a demo of that later today, so we'll be able to show some of that those features that were released in our past release. And then a couple of things that have now moved into the design and investigation phase. One is the support for GitOps-based deployment tools. Tools like Flux and Argo CD are things that we want to build support for. So that's what we've started design on. And then another feature is user-defined resource types. So these are like custom types that some of our users have expressed that their enterprises need for use of Radius. They have some custom objects or custom types that they use internally within their enterprises, and they would like to be able to define those custom types in Radius so that you can take advantage of things like validation and strong typing within Radius. So that's currently in design as well. And once again, click this link over here, aka.ms/radius-roadmap to view the full roadmap. And we really encourage you to go into each of these roadmap items. They're all individual GitHub issues. Go comment on them, go upvote on the ones that that are important to you, and upvote on the ones that you would like to see prioritized. And then if you have any ideas for things to put in the roadmap, feel free to submit a feature request within the Radius repo. Maybe one of the Radius team members can post a link in the chat, but you can go submit a feature request, or you can go engage in our Discord server and chat about it and bring up some of the features that you would like to see, and we can get them up into this roadmap where they can then be viewed by the community and upvoted and commented on by everybody else. So now we go on to the exciting part of our presentation, and that's talking about all the new features and the work that we've done in the latest release. So our latest release is version 0.34. And with this release, we've introduced a bunch of good fixes on bugs and just fundamentals, and then also some features as well. So first and foremost, we've cleaned up the application graph command in the command line in the CLI. And specifically, we've now fully transitioned to RAD app graph. So for those of you who have been here, been following Radius for a while, originally this command was RAD app connections. We've made the switch over to RAD app graph because that makes more sense. What you view is actually the application graph and not just the connections. You see the nodes and the edges that form the application graph. So RAD app graph is a much better named command, and we've fully transitioned over to that. So feel free to try that out. And also update any of your records if you've been using RAD app connections. Replace that with RAD app graph, please. We've also made some CLI user experience improvements for RAD init. Specifically, there was an issue that was raised by someone in the community saying that if you do RAD init in a folder that had a mixed lower and uppercase folder name, it will error out and give a not a great error message. And the reasoning behind that is because Kubernetes does not allow for namespaces with mixed cases. So we've made some changes to the CLI. So now if you have capital letters in the folder name, the CLI will actually give you a more informed error message, and also give you some options to correct the issue before moving forward. So that makes the RAD init process a little bit smoother and kind of allows for these edge cases to be caught and addressed before getting the user stuck in a kind of perpetual bad error message loop. We've also fixed a a bug with the rad run command that was failing due to stern log collector limits. So we've adjusted the limits so that the failure would not occur anymore. So rad run failures have been fixed as well. Now for recipes for any Terraform provider, this is a issue that we fixed and is a feature that Lakshmi will demo for us here in a little bit. But basically, we fixed an issue with the recipe deployment for Terraform providers that are not part of the official providers of Terraform. Now Radius is able to load and deploy the recipe modules and can consume any Terraform provider. So Lakshmi will demo that here in a little bit, but feel free to learn more about it in our documentation, which has been updated to reflect this feature. And then lastly, I want to talk a little bit about testing infrastructure enhancements that we've made over the past release as well. These are very important for not only for the long-term health of the project, but also for the maintainability of the project as well. So the Radius team has been actively improving upon the test coverage and then the test infrastructure as well. So we now have implemented a robust set of functional and long-running tests that are more reliable and cover the most recently released feature areas as well, including, as I mentioned earlier, the private Terraform registries feature. We shipped that, and then we've also now added full sets of functional tests covering that completely. So that's very important for us to ensure that all new features that get introduced have sufficient test coverage so we continue to maintain this strong level of testing for the project going forward. And if you go into our repo, you'll see some information about running the Radius test suites in the contributing sections of our repo. So feel free to check that out. And as always, we like to show a screenshot of the full change log, and the V34 over here, you can click on and go view it in GitHub to see the full details. But as always, thank you for our awesome contributors in helping us create another successful release. And of course, when we can't skip over our new contributors when it comes to talking about contributions to Radius. So we always like to celebrate new contributors to any of our repos. So if you've recently contributed to one of our repos, or you're a new contributor to a different repo, you will show up on this list, and we like to mention folks and celebrate. So thank you at Super Beanie, and thank you at Tess Will for making your first contributions. And hope the experience was great for you, and hopefully you'll come back for more contributions, and we'll see you in future release change logs. And speaking of new contributions, here's a reminder to go look at our good first issues on our two of our main repos, the Radius and the Radius dashboard repo. These are, we tag issues within GitHub as good first issues, things that are nice issues to get started right away if you are new to the project. So please go look at these, and if any of them grab your interest, please pick them up and assign them to yourselves and start working on them. And we'd love to look at your PRs and your ideas and your contributions. Just a heads up, the RAD, RAD dashboard is the front end for Radius. There's a dashboard that gets built and deployed alongside your Radius installs. So if you are particularly interested in front end, or you want to learn about front end development, please check that out too. So Radius-first issues is the core Radius repo, first issues, good first issues in the core Radius repo, and dashboard first issues is good first issues in the dashboard repo. So depending on what your interest areas are, feel free to check those out and add your contributions. All right, so now we have demo time, and I'll call upon Lakshmi to demo for us recipes for any Terraform provider. This is a very exciting feature, and I'll have her speak a little bit more to it. So over to you, Lakshmi.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Lakshmi, and I hope you can hear me. All right.
Loud and clear.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about our recent updates to in Terraform provider support in Radius. So prior to this release, we could support providers like Azure, AWS, Kubernetes, all of which are supported by the UCP control plane in Radius. So if a user stored their credentials in UCP, we were able to pull that from UCP and create and inject that into an internally created configuration file for Terraform. And then we could internally apply Terraform in it and apply, and we are able to execute our recipes and deploy resources. So what's new in version 0.34 is that we can now support providers outside of those supported by UCP and the default HashiCorp providers. We can now support community providers or third-party providers, as they're called. So this is great because users should now have flexibility to hopefully work with broader range of providers and be able to deploy many more resources depending on their infrastructure needs. So, and another feature that as part of this, we've also included the ability for users to build recipes with multiple configurations for the same provider. So this could be useful for deployments where, say, we need resources in one region for the same provider and another set of resources for another region, for example. So yeah, let's look at a demo and see if we can get that working. I'm going to share my screen and let me know if folks can see that.
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so what we're looking at is a recipe. This is a community recipe for PostgreSQL. And as you can see here, in the configuration aliases field, we've specified two aliases, the PGDB test1 and PGDB test2 aliases. And what this recipe does is effectively create two database instances, which also means that it has two instances of Kubernetes service and deployments that are needed to be able to deploy the Postgres databases. So resource one here needs this alias to get deployed, needs this provider configuration that is called by this alias. And as you can see here, the other database instance requires the other provider configuration. Now, how do we deploy this recipe? I'm sharing a bicep file that we're using as an example to be able to deploy this recipe. So at an environment level here in the bicep file, we can now see that we can set up multiple configurations for the Postgres provider. In this example, these are the fields that the provider needs to be configured, but that is every provider is very specific in what they would need to be able to be able to be set up. And we've also included the ability to inject in environment variables that, say, a provider may need or Terraform can read from when being able to deploy or run Terraform apply on these recipes. All right, I am going to try and deploy this recipe. And I hope the demo gods are with us. So let's see. I'm copying this from another screen. That saves me from typing. What I've done here is provide two different values for the two different instances as passwords. While this is deploying, there's one thing that is still in the works, that is ability for secret support for Terraform provider configuration. That's still in the works. The PR is not out, but that should be in soon. So that should also expand the ability to be able to configure providers using key value pairs or environment variables and secrets. And this will take a few seconds. Woohoo! All right. I think I'm going to see if we have our pods deployed. We do have both instances of Postgres running here. The recipe was deployed successfully. I can go in and do a describe on the pod, but I think this is basically this one. Oh. The problems with copy paste. I missed the K on the kubectl. All right. And we can see that this is just an example of the container that was deployed. That holds the Postgres image. All right, I think that's it for my demo. Please let me know if there are questions, and I'll try and get to them. I'm going to hand it off to Will.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lakshmi. I know this was a bunch of work and very happy to see it go through. And for folks on the call, feel free to go try it out. Like if you have, if you need to specify custom Terraform providers for your recipes, this feature is now supported. So feel free to check it out and let us know of any feedback. Awesome. So I'll take a quick pause. Any questions on this before we move forward? All right, I see a couple of applauses coming through. I'll give some applause of my own. Thank you, Lakshmi. All right, so this takes us towards the conclusion of our community call today, and a couple of reminders before we move on to conclude the meeting. Couple of reminders to please engage with us on Discord. All these links over here on this slide are clickable. And please feel free to join us on our Discord server, engage with us. We have the Radius team monitoring all the threads there, and you'd be able to get your questions answered and your feedback taken there. Please go start our GitHub repo if you haven't done so already. And as I said before, there are plenty of opportunities to contribute and engage with the community, whether it be submitting a pull request or going in and submitting an issue for a bug or a new feature request that you want, or just simply going in and commenting and reviewing some of the designs and the pull requests. Any engagement will be very greatly appreciated. And we touched on this before, but there's a Google group that you can join, RadApp IO Google group that you can join for receiving the latest Radius news. It's a fairly low traffic email list. We only send out updates for the monthly Radius releases usually, so it won't be something that is like too spammy, we hope. And please check back soon for our next community call date. We usually post that in the community repo in the README file on the Radius community repo. And as always, let us know what you think and engage with us, provide some feedback. So with that, we'll go into open Q&A, and the Radius team will hang out here for a bit. I will also end the recording, and we can just have some open Q&A time. So if you would like to ask a question, please feel free to do so in the chat or raise your hand in Teams, and I can unmute your microphone. Thank you everyone for joining, and like I said, we'll stick around for any questions.